We all want to be seduced. We yearn to be drawn out of ourselves, out of our routines, and into the drama of eros. That is a quote from The Art of Seduction. And honestly, that single sentence is the reason why I want to start this series. Seduction at its core isn't really about tricks and manipulation or even getting people to do what you want them to do. It's about being pulled out of monotony. It's about attention. It's about feeling alive again. So I'm starting this series where I'm basically turning this book into a long form book club, but on podcasting and YouTube. I've tried to be in book clubs before. People just do not want to read what I want to read. So I thought, you know what? Instead of trying to find the right people, why not just bring it online? So basically what I'm doing is deep diving into part 2 of this book, which is called The Seductive Process. There's already a crap ton of videos on the internet breaking down the different types of seducers that are in this book. I've even made a TikTok about it. But what I realize is that there's not enough discussion on the how. How does attraction actually unfold? How does desire form? How does timing, psychology, and emotional openness play into all of this? So rather than just summarizing, I want to slow down and actually understand this together. Quick but important note before we go into it, I am not doing a chapter by chapter summary type of thing. I'm not reading this book word for word. What I'm doing is giving partial summaries, giving my commentary, and sharing ideas that we can all apply more consciously, whether in dating, relationships, social dynamics, and even life. If you want the full experience, buy the book. I highly recommend it. It's truly changed my life, and I know it can change y'all's life as well. Not because it taught me how to manipulate people, not at all, but because it helped me to understand how attraction actually works. And yeah, this book gets a lot of flack because of the language. Words like seduction, victim, manipulation can really feel uncomfortable, and I totally understand that. But understanding how power and all of that works doesn't mean you're abusing them. It just gives you awareness in areas where you just might feel powerless. So understanding how something works does not make you immoral, it makes you conscious. So the question today is simple. Can you actually seduce everyone? And the answer is no. And trying to is probably the reason why people stay confused, stuck, and chasing the same things that never go anywhere. This chapter makes one thing very clear. Attraction isn't persuasion, it's resonance. And just to be very clear, these are not personality labels. They're emotional states, conditions where attraction is possible. So type 1, the restless or understimulated. These are people who aren't necessarily unhappy, they're just bored. Life feels repetitive, predictable, flat. They're craving novelty, depth, stimulation, something to interrupt the routine. And this ties directly back to the opening quote, just being drawn out of ourselves. Attraction fills space. It doesn't override contentment. Type 2, the restricted or repressed. These are people who are disciplined, controlled, emotionally restrained. They look put together on the outside, but internally, there's pressure. And repression doesn't eliminate desire, it stores it. That's why those people who seem the least likely to fall the freaking hardest. Type 3, the lonely or isolated. This isn't about just being single, it's about being unseen. Just people with too much mental space, too much time, and just not enough emotional stimulation. Seduction demands attention, and busy, fulfilled people, to be so freaking for real, do not have the space for it. Type 4, the imaginative or fantasy oriented. Some people, as we know, live more in imagination than they do logic. They romanticize, idealize, project. Attraction doesn't work through facts. It works through symbolism. And this is where people get confused or hurt because they don't really realize what's happening. And just to pause real quick, like this chapter really got me thinking because of how personal it hit. There was a time in my life where I thought that being loud, dramatic, and just seeking attention was being seductive. Like I was constantly performing, and I thought that that was what being seductive meant. But in all honesty and realness, that was the most insecure version of me. I was not magnetic, but I was just trying to convince people to see me. And when I first read this book, I really realized how not only was I just not being magnetic, I was such an anti-seducer. I wasn't grounded, I wasn't present, I wasn't giving people space to come towards me. I was filling every silence, every gap, just every moment. But then when I started to really apply what I was learning in this book, I stopped forcing myself to be an extrovert all the time. I allowed myself to enjoy being quieter, more observant, and more selective. And ironically, that's when I started to get along with people better. Not just in seduction, but in friendships too. Connections really started to get easier for me, and nothing felt chaste, but more mutual. So the big takeaway is that seduction isn't about doing more, it's about doing what's aligned. So sometimes the issue isn't that you're not attractive enough, but it's that you're performing this type of version of you that just does not exist. Okay, type 5, the opposite wired. I think it's safe to say that in human nature, we're drawn to qualities that we lack. Softness drawn to structure, freedom drawn to stability, chaos drawn to calm, and vice versa. Difference creates tension. Tension creates curiosity. Attraction thrives on contrast, not sameness. Type 6, the I'm immune person. This is honestly one of the most interesting points in the chapter, because those people who think that they're immune to attraction, too smart, too self-aware, too moral, often let their guard down the most. Certainty can be blinding, and this isn't about explaining that. It's about recognizing how self-image shapes vulnerability. Who this doesn't work on, and this matters so much. I have a little list. Attraction does not work on people who are emotionally closed, people who are deeply content, people who are unavailable, and people who simply don't respond to you. And that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. Sometimes the answer isn't to try harder, but to choose differently. Yeah. So, you guys, if there's anything that you take away from this episode, it's this. Seduction is not about forcing desire. It's about recognizing where desire has room to even exist in others, but also in yourself. Sometimes, honestly, the most powerful thing isn't to pursue, but it's to walk away and realize that, things aren't aligning here. You guys, I am so passionate about this book, and I really, really want to hear your guys' opinions, and I would love it if y'all commented what you think. And again, just read with me. Comment what stood out to you the most, or which of these types you've even noticed in your own life. I want this to be more of a conversation than just a straight up lecture. And if you're reading along with me, tell me where you're at in this book. What are your thoughts? In the next episode, we're gonna deep dive into how attraction actually works. Not through action, but in direction. Okay, you guys. Remember that it is a good day to have a good day if you want a good day. Bye.